Welcome to my channel. If you like my videos, then kindly subscribe, like and watch. Thank you. Okay, let's start with chapter number 3, that is about torsion. In this chapter we will study about introduction, torsional load on circular shaft, net torque due to internal stresses. We will then talk about axial shears component, shaft deformation, shearing strain, stresses in elastic range, then normal stresses arises due to torsion failure modes, then there is a sample problem, and then last two topics are about angle of twist in elastic range, and then finally statically indeterminate shaft. So let's start with introduction. The first topic is about torsional load on circular shaft. As you know that whenever you have a shaft that is fixed at one end, here this end is fixed, and you applied a torque, or you applied a torque on one end of the shaft, it tend to deform the shaft, or it tend to twist the shaft. Now this effect of twisting due to this torque is known as torsion. Clear? So in this figure you can see that there is a turbine that is attached with a generator through shaft. Whenever turbine rotates, it tend to rotates the shaft, and you can see that it tend to rotate the shaft in this direction by applying torque on this shaft. Clear? So when this shaft rotates, it tends to rotate the generator as well. Clear? But due to the inertia of this generator, or because it's having some mass, so due to its inertia, this generator resists this applied torque. Clear? And this resistance is offered in opposite direction. So turbine is actually applying a torque on the generator, while in response generator apply a reaction torque on this shaft. So we can see here below, in below example, you can see if these shafts are coupled, if we remove or we section them, so you can see that these shaft having applied torque in this direction, while due to generator there is a reaction torque that is represented as T dash in this direction. Now due to this opposing torques, a twisting effects or deformation will be created in this shaft. Now this twisting effect due to this applied torques or couples is known as torsion. Clear? Because we can see that if we remove the if we remove the support from this end as well, so there will be a reaction torque as well. So again, in short, whenever a torque is subjected to torsional load or couple load, so it will create twisting moment, or it will create angular deformation in the shaft, and this is known as torsion. Clear? So interested in due to torsion loads or due to torques, the twisting effects will be created in the shaft, as well as this twisting effect there will be strain and stresses also generated in that shaft. So we are interested to find out the stresses and strain of circular shaft that are subjected to twisting or couple loads, and you have seen the example of this turbine which exert a torque on this shaft, and this shaft transmit power to the generator. Clear? In response, generator creates equal and opposite torque T on the shaft. So now this shaft is purely under twisting effects, and this phenomena is known as torsion. Now we will find the net torque due to internal stresses. So this is the same shaft. If you take this shaft as the previous one, so this is shaft AB, and that is subjected to the two opposite torques that are acting at point A and point B. Now due to these two torques, twisting effect will be created in this shaft. So this phenomena is known as torsion, or this is the this shaft is under pure torsion. Clear? So if you take out the section at point C, in order to find the internal stresses created in this shaft due to this torsion. Clear? So we take a section at point C. When you section this shaft at point C, so it will be like this. Point B will be having same torque T dash, while point C will be also having a reaction torque, but we want to show that this torque is due to the internal forces that are created in the shaft. So if you take this circular section, like this is the circular section, and you divide it into small area, which is dA, that is also represented over here. So if you divide this circular cross section into small area, let this is dA, all are dA, same differential area. Clear? So there will be a shear force acting on that area, which is also represented as dF. Clear? And this area is at a distance of rho from this center point. So if I draw it like in a zoomer mode, this is a center, for example, this is a differential area dA. Clear? And a shear force dF is applied on that small incremental area. Similarly, this is area and this is another area. All are a distance of rho. Now what is rho? Rho in this exercise or in this chapter, rho is used for the radius, and it is a variable radius. What does variable radius means? That rho is greater or equal to 0 and less or equal to C. Now what is C? C is the maximum distance from center to the outermost surface, and which means that C is the radius of the shaft. So rho varies when at center rho will be equal to 0, and at outermost point of the shaft rho will be equal to C. So let all these differential area are at a distance of rho from the center. So in order to find the net torque due to these internal shear forces, we assume this we divide this circular cross sectional into small incremental area, that is each area is represented as dA, and the force acting on this differential area is dF. Now you can see that torque is the product of force into displacement. Clear? Or distance. Clear? So now you can see this is the shear force dF, and that is acting at this point, and from the center this distance is rho. So we can see that due to this differential force F and multiply by rho, it will create a torque. Similarly, in order to find the net torque applied due to these small areas under the load, under the differential shear force, so we can write this equation that net torque is equal to integral means sum of all the torques applied on this surface. Clear? So this integral into dF into rho is the torque, which is torque for this only. But if you integrate it, it means that you are taking the net torque on this area. So torque will be equal to integral of rho. Now dF, as you know that dF will be equal to, this is the force, not stress. We know that force is equal to stress into area. Clear? Now due to this force, shear stress is generated. So shear stress, this dF will be equal to shear stress into area. So instead of this dF, if we put shear stress into dA, will it be okay or not? So it will be okay, because this dF is equal to tau into dA. Now remember that let me clear some things also. Okay, so again, if you see this shaft, so it's the axis of shaft, clear, and this axis of shaft is perpendicular to this face. For example, if this is the axis of shaft, this is the axis of shaft. Now this axis of shaft is perpendicular to this surface, this area, clear. So whenever any surface that is perpendicular to the axis of the shaft, so that shaft is under torsional load, clear. So definitely in that area shear stress will be, or shear force will be generated. I will repeat again, whenever any surface that is perpendicular to the axis, this is the axis and this surface is perpendicular, clear. So this and this is applied with the torques, ठीक, no, that so that this surface will be acted upon by shear forces, and this shear force will be equal to shear stress into shear area. And if you want to find the net torque on this surface, so that will be equal to integral of rho into df, and similarly this df is equal to tau into dA. So if you integrate it, you will get the net shear, which is also represented here as T. So this T is equal to, actually this is equal to integral of rho tau into dA. Now distribution of shear stresses is statically indeterminate, and we must consider shaft deformation. So only by using these external torques we cannot solve this problem. You will see at the end of this lecture there is a slide about statically indeterminate shafts. So you will see that we have to then take the we have to consider the deformation as well. And in unlike the normal stresses due to axial loading, the distribution of shearing stress due to torsional load cannot be assumed uniform. And similarly, we have seen in our previous lecture that whenever you have any shaft that is subjected to normal or axial loading, by axial loading we means that load passing through the axis. So whenever there is axial loading P, so we assume that stress is in the material is distributing, but this distribution is this distribution will be maximum in the vicinity of this load, and it will be minimum at the end, but it will be like that. But as the load is axial load, so we take the average stress, average normal stress, that is we simply write is as P over A. But in torsions, the shearing stress distribution due to torsional load, it cannot be assumed uniform. There is a proper distribution of shearing stress of the shaft that is under torsion. We will also derive that equation or relation which shows you the shear stress distribution along the shaft in next few slides. So but you should remember that distribution of shear stresses due to torsional load cannot be assumed uniform in the rod, and we will see the distributions again in next few slides. Now axial shear component. Now you can see that there is a shaft, and these shafts are made up of axial slits. These are the slits. If I zoom it, these are the slits. And there are red marks that is available on this shaft. When this shaft is subjected to torque loading, when this is applied to external torques on both the end, and these torques are opposite torques, so it will create twist in this shaft, or you can say it will create shear strain, because there is angular deformation of initially all the slits are parallel to each other. Now parallel to each other and also parallel to the axis of rotation of shaft. But now these slits are at certain angle to the axis. Clear? They are no more parallel to this axis. So they have been deformed, and this deformation is known as shear strain. Clear? So let's take any section of this axial shaft. Clear? So for example, a portion of this shaft is shown over here. This is the axis. This is some portion of the shaft. Now we have already told you that any face, for example, this portion of the shaft has this face. Clear? Similarly, it has this face. This is, for example, phase 1. The back face is 2. This is 3, and this is 4. All are the faces of this portion of the shaft. So we have already discussed that any face that is perpendicular to this axis, shaft axis. So you can see this face is perpendicular. This is perpendicular to this axis. So there will be shear force on this face, and this shear force is represented as tau. This shear force will be in this direction. Again, there is another face that is opposite to this. I will represent it as dotted line. So this face is also perpendicular to the axis of shaft. So there will be a shear force also on that face, and this shear force will be in this direction. Now you can see that there are two shear stresses. Two shear stresses are acting on the two faces, and they are at a distance from each other. So due to this, a couple will produce, and it will tend to rotate in counterclockwise direction. Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, I will remove the things so that it should not mess up. Similarly, these faces, this face. Now this face is parallel to the axis of shaft. So it will also be applied, it will also be experiencing the shear force. Why? The reason is that we have seen that those faces which are perpendicular to this axis will experience a shear stress. Similarly, on this faces it will experience a shear stress. So due to this, a torque or couple is produced. Clear? A couple is produced, and that will be in counterclockwise direction. For this piece of the shaft to be in balance, there should be anti-clockwise torque or a couple that is also applied in order to make this piece of the shaft in equilibrium condition. So we say that those faces which are parallel to the axis of shaft under the torsion will also experience a shear stress as well, and this shear stress will be like this. Similarly, the opposite face will also experience a shear force in opposite direction. Now you can see that these two shear stresses also produce a movement that will be in clockwise direction. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So torque applied to shaft producing shearing stress on the face perpendicular to the axis of shaft as well as parallel to the axis of shaft that are under pure torsion. From this slide we conclude that torque applied to the shaft produces shearing stress on the face perpendicular to the axis, and due to this is for the body to be in equilibrium, the faces that are parallel to the axis of shaft also experience the shearing stresses. So condition of equilibrium require the existence of equal stresses on the faces of two planes containing the axis of shaft. So this is the same thing which I am talking about. The existence of axial shear component is demonstrated by considering a shaft made up of axial slats. These slats slide with respect to each other when equal and opposite torques are applied to the end. So basically this is a continuation of finding the shear strain or stresses in the shaft under pure tension. Now we will talk about shaft deformation, that whenever a shaft is subjected to torque, it will produce deformation in the shaft, and that shaft and this deformation of the shaft is known as shear strain. Clear? And there will be a twisting effect in this shaft as well. So we will also find the angle of twist for that. So how? So let's consider this is a beam, cantilever beam, or a circular rod that is fixed at end B having length L, and there is a line AB mark on this shaft. So you can see this is point B and this is point A. So when you apply torque, point B is fixed. When you applied a torque on this shaft, clear? So point A will tend to move to another position. So point A will tend to move to another position from A to A dash, and a new line A dash B is formed. So now you can see initial line is represented as dotted line, while the new line is represented as solid line, that is line B A dash. And if this is the center, so if you connect the center with original point of A, so that will be A. Now the point A has been shifted to A dash due to this applied torque. So if you join the center with A dash, so you will get OA dash. Clear? Now there is a change of angle between point A to A dash, and this angle is known as phi, and this phi is known as angle of twist. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now this angle of twist is directly proportional to the applied torque. So if there is more torque, there will be more twisting angle. So from observation, the angle of twist of the shaft is proportional to the applied torque, and this angle of twist is also proportional to the length of the shaft. Higher the length of the shaft, higher will be the twisting effect due to the torsion. Clear? Now when a shaft is subjected to torsion, every cross section of circular shaft remain plain and undistorted. So if we assume this is the same shaft and that is applied with the torsion at our torque at the both ends, and these torques are opposite torques. So you can see for a circular shaft, if you applied the torque, there will be a distortion, there will be a shear strain. But at every section, if you take any section, you have seen these circular arcs or circular shapes, these. You can see that at every section, the circular shaft remains plain and undistorted. It means that it will be remain circular when you take the cross section at any point. Clear? So shaft that is subjected to torsion, it will remain the same. It will remain plain and undistorted. So cross section of our hollow and circular shaft remains plain and undistorted because a circular shaft is axisymmetric. While in case of non-circular shaft, you can see that if this is a square or rectangular shaft that is subjected to torsion, so now you can see twisting effect has been created in this shaft, and whenever you take the cross section at any points, so every cross section will be totally different from the previous one, because they are no more plain and they are distorted. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we will continue further for finding the shear stress, shear strain and angle of twist as well. So this is the same thing. This is the shaft that is supported at this fixed point and having length L, and when it is subjected to torque, it will move, this line will move to another point. This is point O, this is the angle of twist, and O. From O to this point, for this was taken as A dash, so from O A dash is equal to OA, and that is equal to C. What is C? C is radius of shaft. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you want to find the internal effects of the torque on this shaft, so we will take internal portion of the shaft. So consider an interior section of the shaft. As torsional load is applied, an element on the interior cylinder deforms into a rhombus. So this was initially a shaft. Now we have taken the interior portion of the shaft. So you can see this dotted line is, actually the original shaft. Clear? And this smaller portion, the inside, this one is actually the interior portion of the shaft. Now this interior portion of the shaft is taken and a square portion is marked on that, and this is the same line AB, this is the same center O, and this. Now if this was the initial diameter, so from center to outermost distance is C. Clear? But if you want to take any internal portion, so now from this to this portion, this distance is represented as rho, because rho I have already told you, rho is greater or equal to 0 and less or equal to C. So rho is for radius, but it is a variable term. It can be 0, it can be any value at any point, but minimum value is 0 and maximum value is the radius. So if you have taken the internal portion of the shaft and a square or rectangular red marks is marked on that, but after applying the torque, clear, so it will create deformation, angular deformation in the shaft. Now the point A is now shifted to point B. You can see here that this point A has been shifted to this point A dash, and similarly rho will remain same because OA and OA dash is same, that is rho. Clear? Acha, one more thing that I have written about OA is equal to OA dash is equal to C, but this is for the original shaft. If you take the original shaft, clear? So I will remove this OA dash and OA for removing the confusion. Okay, so you can see that this, after applying the torque, this shaft will deform and there will be a shear strain as well as angle of twist. Now this, due to the movement of this initial line AB to new line A dash B, this circular or rectangular mark has been converted into a rhombus. Now it is no more square or rectangular, it is deformed into a rhombus shape, and you can see that the angle which line AB makes with a new line A dash B dash is known as gamma, and this gamma is known as shear strain, because we have defined shear strain as change in angle. Do not confuse this shear strain with this angle of twist. This is angle of twist. Clear? And shear strain is the strain or deformation that is produced in the shaft. Now further we will explain this. Again, if you see that this arc AA dash is common in triangle. If you consider it as a triangle A dash, in triangle A dash, A dash, and in triangle OA dash, this A dash, in both triangle A dash is same. Is it same? Is
Yes,
it?
sir.
So
Yes,
this
sir.
A dash is same. So if you take triangle OA dash A, so this A dash will be equal to rho into A, because whenever, for example, you have this center and this is point A dash, this is point A, and this is the center point, and this is angle of twist. So this, by using S is equal to R theta, and for example this is rho, so by using S is equal to R theta, so here S is A dash, length of this R, clear, R is rho and theta is a phi, so that is equal, A dash will be equal to rho into phi, not A, clear. Similarly, in triangle BAA dash, this AA dash is equal to length into gamma, L into gamma. So we will get this equation, L into gamma is equal to rho into phi, where L is the length of the shaft, gamma is the shear strain, rho is the variable value of the radius, it can be changed, and pi is the angle of twist. So this is the same equation. You can see this is written over here. L into gamma is equal to rho into phi. From this equation we can get phi. Phi will be equal to L into gamma over rho. So this is the angle of twist. Angle of twist is equal to length into gamma over rho. Now we can also find out gamma as well from the same equation as we get the angle of twist. So if you use this equation, so gamma is equal to rho into phi over L, which is the same written over here. So this equation is the important equation, that is shear strain is equal to variable radius into angle of twist over total length. Now you can see, I will write this equation. Okay. So L into gamma is equal to what? Phi into rho. This was the equation. From that we write that angle of twist is equal to L into gamma over rho. Also we can write from this equation that this gamma is equal to phi into rho over L. So this is the formula for angular deformation or shear strain, and this is the formula for finding the angle of twist. So I will further use this formula. Now in this formula you can see, if I rewrite, we can say this is equal to rho over L into phi. Now rho is what? Rho is a variable radius. So if you are talking about whole shaft, so this rho starts from 0 and less or equal to radius C. So for when rho is equal to 0, it means the center of the shaft. You are talking about the center of shaft. So shear strain will be equal to what?
0.
Shear strain will be 0. It means there is no deformation in the center. So on center line will remain the same. But if rho is not equal to 0, so there will be a shear strain. And when rho is equal to C, so then this shear strain will be known as maximum shear strain, and that will be equal to C over L into phi. Clear? So shear strain is 0 at the center and it is maximum at the at outer radius, yeah, at a distance of radius from the center. So this is another formula for finding the maximum shear strain. This is the same. Instead of rho, you have place rho with C, and we know that shear strain will be maximum at a distance of C from the center, because C is the radius. Now you can also get a relationship between the gamma max and gamma. How? You simply just put the value of phi in this equation. So I will write it over here. Gamma max is equal to C over L, and phi is what? Phi is this, L into gamma over rho. So LL will cross. So shear strain maximum will be equal to C over rho into gamma. This is the relationship between the maximum strain and the maximum shear strain and the strain. So now from this formula we can also conclude that if rho is equal to 0, clear? So shear strain will be 0. And if rho is equal to C, so this C will be cut with C, so gamma will be equal to gamma maximum at rho is equal to C. Means at outer radius maximum shear strain will be equal to this gamma, clear? And at rho is equal to 0, there will be no shear strain. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we will discuss about the distribution of shear stresses in the circular shaft. As we have already discussed that distribution of shear stresses in circular shaft subjected to a torsion is not uniform. So you can see from previous equation, that is gamma, that was the relationship between gamma and gamma max. One more thing, one thing should be clear. This gamma max will be equal to C over L into phi, and this phi. So we can also write this equation in term of gamma. Gamma is equal to rho over C into gamma max. So if you remember this equation, so you can create the equation for gamma max in term of gamma or any other. ठीक है ना? So you must know this equation. Okay, as we know that gamma is equal to rho over C into gamma max, that is written in previous slide, that this gamma is equal to rho over C into gamma max. Clear? So now if we multiply G on both sides, modulus of rigidity, clear? Now we have studied that shear stress is equal to modulus of rigidity into shear strain for elastic region. ठीक है ना? So for elastic region, when there is a shear stress, so there will be a shear strain in that, and within elastic limit, this shear strain is directly proportional to shear stress, and this shear stress is equal to G into gamma, where G is modulus of rigidity, gamma is shear strain, and tau is equal to shear stress. Clear? So I have applied G on both sides of the equation, that was a relationship among shear strain and maximum shear strain. So this term will be equal to what? This will be equal to tau. Clear? And this G into gamma max will be equal to, this rho over C will be the same, and this will be equal to tau max. So we also derived a relationship between shear stress and maximum shear stress. So by using this equation, we will find out the variation of shear stresses in a circular shaft. Clear? So if rho is equal to 0, then shear stress will be equal to 0. So you can see at center point shear stress is 0. But when rho is equal to C, so tau will be equal to C by C into tau max. So tau will be equal to tau max. So at outermost or at the radius, shear stress will be maximum. So the variation of stress from 0, if you join this point with 0, so this triangle shows you the variation that shear stress is increasing from the center to the outermost and 0 at center. Clear? And this is only for the solid circular shaft. So if you have a hollow circular shaft, the thing will remain same, but we will consider, because in hollow shaft we have two inner radius and outer radius as well. So I hope it's clear the stresses in elastic range and distribution of stresses in the shaft. So in shaft, at the center shear stress will be 0 and shear stress will be maximum at the outermost or at a radius. So the shear stress linearly varies with the radial position in the selection. So it means that shear stress is totally dependent on this rho, linearly vary with the radial position. If radius is equal to 0, shear stress will be equal to 0. If radius is increasing, so shear stress will be increasing. Similarly for hollow cylindrical shaft, so you can see now from point O to inner radius, this is represented as C1. From O to the outer, this is C2. So C1 is the smallest radius and C2 is the largest radius. Clear? And if you want to find the stresses at this point C1 and C2, so at point O there is no material, so there will be no shear stress, and the shear stress will be minimum at point C1. So we can find this as well. So tau minimum will be equal to C1 over C is the maximum, which will be equal to C2 into tau max. And tau max is what? Tau max is equal to C2 over C2 into tau. Tau max will be equal to that tau. Clear? So minimum shear stress will be at point C1 while maximum shear stress will be at point C2. But this C1 shear stress at C1 is not 0. It will have some value, and this value is determined. This minimum shear stress is found by using this tau minimum. This the same formula is used. यही formula use हुआ है. Instead of rho we put C1 and instead of C we put C2, and tau max is the same. So you will get a certain value of shear stress at point C1, and at C2 tau max will be the maximum. So again the distribution of stress in hollow shaft will be like that. There will be no shear stress in the hollow portion. It will start from C point and from C1 to C2, and the stress is linearly increasing from C1 to C2. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we are recalling from our previous equation that was about net torque on the surface of shaft. That was this equation. This torque is equal to rho into integral of rho into TA into dA. So let me write it again over here so that it does not confuse you. So that torque was equal to integral of rho tau into dA. Rho tau into dA. Clear? Now we will replace this tau with this equation. Tau is equal to rho over c into tau max. Rho over c into tau max. Instead of this tau, we write rho over c into tau max, and this rho will be the same and this dA will be the same, and this is the integral sign. Clear? So this torque will be, net torque will be equal to integral of rho square over c into tau max into dA. Clear? Now tau max is the maximum value, means it's a fixed value, it is a constant, and c is also a fixed value, radius. So we will take these two terms out, that will be equal to tau max over c into integral of rho square into dA. This is the torque, this is the maximum shear stress. Now you might have studied that this rho into integral of rho square into d is the polar moment of inertia, and this is represented as j. So j will be equal to rho square into dA. Clear? And this j is the same. This is a polar moment of inertia. What does polar moment of inertia means? It resists the angular deformation, just like I double x or I double y, second moment of inertia. It resists the bending moment. Clear? So j is the polar moment of inertia. It resists the twisting effects. So when you, instead of writing this whole term, you can easily put tau max into c over into j. This j is polar moment of inertia, and the value of j for different shapes are different. For circular shaft, for circular solid shaft, it is pi by 2 c4. This is written over here, or pi by 32 d4 if you have diameter. Clear? And for hollow shaft, this will be the same 1 over 2 pi, but it will be C24 minus C1, that is written over here. So the value of j for different shapes will be different. So you can calculate the j value by using that formula. Okay, so now we will find out the maximum shear stress. A very important or basic formula, maximum shear stress due to the torsion. If you leave this at here and multiply c with this, so that will be t into c and you will divide by j. So this is the famous formula, tau is equal to t into c over j. This is the tau max. Maximum shear stress is equal to the product of torque into radius divided by polar moment of inertia. So if you have given a shaft that is subjected to the value of torque, clear, the diameter of the shaft is given, so you can easily find the maximum shear stress. What will you do? You will have a torque, you have a diameter, so you can calculate j, and if c is equal to d by 2, so if you put all the values, so you will easily calculate the maximum shear stress in this shaft due to torsion loading. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now again, this tau max is equal to t into c divided by j. This is for the maximum. So if you know that shaft having center and it's having rho, and this rho start greater or equal to 0 and less or equal to c. So for finding the stresses for variable radius, so this tau will be equal to t into rho over j. Clear? So rho start from 0 and it is less then less or equal to C. So if you put rho is equal to 0, shear stress will be equal to 0. If you put rho is equal to C in this formula, so tau will be the maximum, and that tau will be equal to T into C divided by G. So similarly, shear stress at center point is 0 and shear stress at the radius is maximum, for example. So if you join this, so this will be the shear stress distribution in the shaft. I hope it's clear to you now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we will move toward another topic, that is normal stresses. So up till now we have seen that whenever a shaft that is subjected to torsion or torque, clear, and if the surface or faces that is parallel or perpendicular to this axis, the shaft axis. So if you take the A face, this face, now the A portion having the face that is either parallel to this axis or perpendicular, so their faces will experience maximum shear stress, because their faces will experience shear stress. But why this is maximum? Because it is taken at the outer surface, so their faces will share maximum shear stress. Clear? But when this portion, or you can say this portion of the shaft, or any patch or any incremental part keh dein of this shaft, is now not, their faces is not neither parallel nor perpendicular, and it is subjected to torque. So in this condition, this will experience normal stress as well. Clear? So if the faces are parallel or perpendicular, then this problem is under pure shear. This problem is under pure shear. There will be no normal stresses due to the torque or torsion. But if the, you can say, if this, there is the change in orientation of the patch or any portion of the shaft, clear, where the surface, where its faces are neither parallel nor perpendicular to this axis, so in that condition, along with the shear stresses, there will be normal stresses as well. So how we will find that normal stresses? So again, if you look at this portion, okay, so if you look at this portion and if you cut it like this or this, in any way, for example, if you cut it like this, so this will be the portion BEC, and if you cut like this portion, this one, so this will be the same. Clear? So when you cut it, so there will be a normal force that will be acting perpendicular to this surface, and on this face there is a maximum shear stress and maximum shear stress, and that is this area is, let this area is A naught. So maximum shear stress into this area will equal to the force in this direction. Clear? Shear force in this direction. Similarly, below here, the maximum shear stress into area will give you the shear force. Shear force. Fs, shear force. Now, as this is a square and you have cut it, so there is a 45-degree angle. Clear? And there is a normal reaction force that is acting perpendicular to this surface. Now, element with faces parallel and perpendicular to shaft axis are subjected to shear stresses only. Normal stresses, shearing stresses, or combination of both may be found for other orientation, and this was the orientation. Now you can see their faces are perpendicular and parallel, but this face is neither perpendicular nor parallel, so it is experience a normal force. So how you will find this normal force? So you can see that this is the shear stress maximum and this. So we will divide this shear stresses into component. One component will be in this direction and one component will be in this direction. Similarly, one component of this shear force will be in this direction and other one will be in this direction. Now, as the angle is 45 degrees, so here the angle is also 45 degree and this angle will be also 45. This angle between this line and this line will be 45. So this portion that is opposite, this component of the shear stress which is opposite to this normal force, this will be equal to tau max in A naught cos of 45 degree. And similarly this component, ये वाला component, this component will be also equal to tau max A naught cos of 45 degree. Clear? Now for finding this force, this F dash will be equal to this force and this force, means 2 times tau max A naught cos of 45 degree. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now we know that cos of 45 degree is equal to what? It is equal to 1 over under root 2 or under root 2. किस चीज के बराबर है? That is equal to 1 over under root 2. Clear? So if you put 2 into tau max A naught cos of 45 की जगह if you put 1 over under root 2, so now we can write these two as product of under root 2 multiplied by under root 2 because they will multiply and it will give you again 2 tau max into A naught into 1 over under root 2. So this will cut with this, so we will get F dash is equal to under root 2 tau max into A naught. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Tau
Yes,
max
sir.
A naught into under root 2. Now what is A naught? So if this is A naught and this is A naught, so this area will be what? This area will be equal to A naught square plus A naught square under the root. Pythagoras theorem है ना? This BA,
Yes.
area of BA. So that will be equal to under root 2 A naught. Clear? So if you put this under A naught area, that will be under root 2 A naught. So again, you have area this. Okay, so you have find out the force. Now due to this is the normal force, so you want to find the normal stresses, and this, as this is cut it at a 45 degree angle, so normal stress is at 45 degree. We know that this is equal to F over A. Since it is F dash, so you can write F or F dash, anything. So you know that normal stress is equal to force per unit area, and this force is equal to under root 2 tau max into A naught. And this area, which is the area of this portion, this portion, this area, this is area, while this area was A naught and this area was also A naught. So this area A is now equal to 2 into under root 2 into A naught. So A naught will cancel, under root 2 will be cancelled. So normal stress at 45 degree will be equal to the maximum shear stress. It means that when the orientation is 45 degree, so normal stress will be there, but the value of normal stress will be the maximum shear stress. Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So element A is in pure shear. So if this was the element A, so it was under pure shear. But element B is now under shear stress as well as normal stress. Element C is subjected to tensile stress on the two faces and compressive stress on the two. So note that all the stresses of element A and C have the same magnitude. Now we have divided this element A into two portions. So and we have taken the force either in this direction or in this direction. You can take the force in any direction. If you take the force below, so it means this is compressive. So the value will change to the negative. And if you take it away, so the value will be positive. So normal stresses at 45 degree will be equal to plus minus tau max. Plus means tensile stress or tensile force, and minus means compressive stress. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, torsion failure mode. So whenever a shaft that is ductile, clear? So ductile material generally fails in shears because they are weaker in shear force, and ductile materials are stronger against the tensile force, while brittle materials are weaker in tensile than shears. So brittle material have higher strength in shear than in tensile. Clear? While ductile materials are usually weaker in shear and stronger in tensile. So if you look at this shaft, so maximum shear is equal to TC over J, and if you take this, so sigma 45 degree is equal to maximum shear. Now this is a shaft that is of ductile material, and when it is applied with the torque or torsion, so it will shear at this face, and this face is perpendicular to the shaft axis. And we have already seen that any face that is perpendicular to the shaft axis will experience a shear force. So this deformation of ductile material is due to the torsion, while we have a brittle material that is subjected to opposing torque, and it fails at this angle is 45 degree. Clear? So this is maximum shear stress. The, sigma 45 will be plus minus tau max, which is equal to plus minus TC over J. Clear? So you can see that brittle material shear are deformed at angle of 45 degree. So this is also one of the way that you can predict that this type of failure, this is a brittle material as the failure is at 45 degree. So you can see this is a brittle material. As this here in this example, as the failure mode, this surface is perpendicular to this axis. So you can see this failure is due to shear force, and this is the shear failure of the ductile material. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then we have sample problem 3.1, sample problem, and then angle of twist in elastic range and statically indeterminate shaft. So we will cover this in lecture number 2. Thank you. Now problem 3.1 states that shaft BC is a hollow with inner and outer diameter of 90 mm and 120 mm respectively, while shaft AB and CD are solid of diameter D. So you can see that there is a shaft, there are shafts, different shafts on which this you can say pulley or this mass that is rotating on this shaft. So this shaft is AB, this shaft is AB, while the mid shaft is BC, and shaft, there is another shaft third, that is CD. The diameter of this shaft is not known, that is represented as D, and diameter of shaft AB is D, while diameter of shaft CD is also D. The diameter of shaft BC is given, that is 120 millimeters, and the torque on this portion is given as 6 kilonewton. Similarly, torque at point B is given as 14 kilonewton, and C 26 and TD. So you have been asked to find the minimum and maximum shearing stress in shaft BC. So this is the BC, that is hollow shaft. So tau max in BC shaft and tau minimum in BC shaft. You have to find this. This is the part A of question. Second, you have been asked to find the required diameter of shaft AB and CD if allowable shearing stress in this shaft is 65 megapascal. So B point is to find diameter D. As diameter of AB and CD is same, so you have to find diameter D of the shaft for allowable shearing stress. Ta allowable is 65 megapascal. This is a very simple question. There are steps. When you follow these steps, it will be easily solved. So the first step is cut this section through shaft AB and BC and perform static equilibrium analysis to find the torque loading. So basically the first step is that you have to take the section at different location of the shaft, and you will apply the equilibrium equation in order to find the torque in these shafts, or torque in this shaft AB, BC and CD. After finding the torque in this shaft, then you will have to apply the elastic torsion formula to find minimum and maximum stress on the shaft. Then you will apply this formula, that this torque is equal to rho over C into tau max, or simply the formula of shear stress, that is TL over C. TL over C, clear? And then for second part, you will be given allowable, so that will be allowable and all the value will be available, and you will be able to solve this question. So let's start. But remember, you have to find maximum shear stress and minimum shear stress in shaft BC and the diameter of shaft AB and CD for allowable shearing stress 65 megapascal. So let's start with step number 1, that is cut through section of shaft AB. So we will start from the shaft AB. So if you look, if you cut this shaft at this point, if you cut the shaft at this point, so this portion will be there, clear? And the same torque at point A is 6 kilonewton. So if you have cut it at this point, so there will be a reaction torque, which is tau AB, which will be the torque in this shaft. And this torque in shaft can be found by using the moment equation. So moment about this x should be equal to 0 for equilibrium condition. So 6 kilonewton is TA, so that will be equal to TA, that is counterclockwise, so this will be positive, minus TAB, which is clockwise rotation, that their sum must be equal to 0. It means that TAB is equal to TA, and TA is 6 kilonewton. So you have find out the torque in shaft AB. Now we will move toward the second section, that is now you have to section it in this. So all these things will be the same. You will see in the picture. So you can see this is the point, same point A. This is the same point B, and here we cut the shaft. So if you cut the shaft, so there will be a reaction torque that will be in shaft BC. Clear? Shaft BC. Okay, so you know that this is torque A, torque at point A, which is given as 6 kilonewton, torque at point B is also 14 kilonewton, and this is the reaction torque, that is a resisting torque that is generated in this shaft. So this can be also found by taking the same equation, sum of all moment about this axis must be equal to 0. So you can see TA is positive because it is counterclockwise. Similarly, TB will be also positive, minus TBC, which is clockwise, and their sum must be equal to 0. It means that TBC is equal to TA plus TB. TA is 6 kilonewton into meter, while TB is 14 kilonewton into meter, and their sum is equal to 20 kilonewton into meter. TAB. Clear? So now you have find out. Similarly, as in you do not need the third section. Why? Because let me clear it also. So because if you take the section in third portion, so this is TC26, this is 14, and this is 6. So 20, 46. Clear? If you also find this, so that will be T is equal to 40, and that will be opposite to that. But here, if you remember, if you want to find the torque in CD, it is also given at the end. TD is equal to 6 kilonewton, because you will have to take the whole body, that will be in balance. So here also the torque will be 6 kilonewton. So if we have find out the diameter for 6 kilonewton, that was torque of in this AB is 6 kilonewton. So again in third portion it will be 6 kilonewton, because TAB is equal to TCD, that is 6 kilonewton. So now we have find out the torque in each shaft. Then we will move toward the second step, that is about equilibrium analysis, or apply elastic torsion formula for minimum and maximum stresses on the shaft. So the first part was to find out tau max in BC and tau minimum in BC. And BC is a hollow shaft whose outer and inner dia was given. So you can see that inner radius is given as 45 millimeter and outer is given as 60 millimeter. Let me show you in the question as well. The inner and outer diameter of 90 and 120. So inner radius will be 95 and outer radius will be 60. Because we are dealing with radius, so we have to convert into radius. Okay. So you can see that C1 is 45 and C2 is 60 millimeter. Now you know that tau is equal to TL divided by GJ. Clear? That we derived earlier. So now you have torque in, if you are interested in BC shaft, so you must have torque in BC, length of BC, modulus of rigidity, and polar moment of inertia. And polar moment of inertia for this hollow circular shaft is pi by 2 into C2 power 4 minus C1 power 4, where C2 is the outer radius and C1 is the inner or smallest radius. So you have value, you will just have to put this in the formula. So pi by 2, C2 is 60 millimeter, as the calculation has been done in meter. So you have to convert 60 millimeter into meter, that will be 0.060 meter. Similarly, C1 is also converted into meter, so that is 0.045 meter. So put the value when you calculate this, the J value comes out, or polar moment of inertia comes out to be 13.92 into 10 raised to power minus 6. Now this has been calculated. The J value has been calculated. The G value will be given in the question. G value is given or not? The G value should be given. The minimum and minimum stress in the shaft is 65. Okay, there is a missing data about G. So let assume that it is steel shaft or any other material. The G is given over here as, okay, sorry, I have made a mistake. I have to see what is the mistake. This tau max is actually TC over J. Okay? Not TL. Torque is equal to TC over J. You people are also sleeping. TC over J. So now we have calculated J. We have torque, that is in AB or BC. Sorry, BC. Again, this is also BC, not AB. Clear? This tau BC is 20 kilonewton meter. Okay, so this is available, and C is depend on outer radius or inner radius. So we have to find tau max and tau minimum, and you know that tau is equal to rho over C into tau max. That was derived earlier. Clear? So we will use this formula. So as we know that tau max is equal to T C2 over J. This will be tau max because C2 is the maximum radius. So when you can see here that tau max is equal to T2, which is equal to torque in BC into C2. C2 is the outer divided by J. So you have TBC, which is 20 kilonewton, mention over here. C2 is 0.060 meter and J is, when you calculate it, the maximum shear stress tau maximum comes out to be 86.2 megapascal. So tau max has been calculated. Now we will calculate tau minimum. As you know that tau is equal to rho over C into tau max. So if you divide it, we will get tau over tau max will be equal to rho over C. So if this tau is minimum tau, for minimum you will have to find tau minimum. So this rho will be equal to C1 and the below one will be equal to C2. So we will get a equation tau minimum over tau maximum is equal to C1 over C2. Now you have C1, you have C2, and you have tau max. So put it in this formula, or this is also solved over here. Tau minimum over tau max is equal to C1 over C2. So tau minimum C1 is given, C2 is given. Whether you want to convert into meter or not, it depends on you because the unit will cancel each other. So it will give you the same value. So tau minimum will be equal to 86.2 into the product of this value, 45 over 60. So tau minimum comes out to be 64.7 megapascal. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then we will move to the second portion. The first part of the this problem has been calculated. The second part was to find D for AB and another shaft BC, for which shearing stress should be 65 megapascal allowable. So you know that shearing stress is equal to TC over J. Now this shearing stress is 65. So 65. Torque in AB was also calculated, that was 6 kilonewton. Diameter, you want to calculate this C, which is not known, and J is For this you have to calculate J as well. Pi by 2 into C4 or D4, which is not known. When you calculate this, C will cut with this and we will have 65 is equal to 6. This is 6 kilonewton, so 6 into 10 raised to power 3 divided by pi by 2 into C cube. So when you calculate this C will come out to be 38.9 into 10 raised to power minus 3 meter. Clear? So now you have C means radius. Clear? C means radius. So D will be equal to 2 times C. So you will multiply 2 with 38.9 and D will comes out to be 77.8 millimeter. So this is the diameter of the shaft AB and BC for which the shearing stress is 65 megapascal. Clear? And this is 65 megapascal, so you will also have to give 65 into 10 raised to power 3. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Okay, wait. So this was all about sample problem 3.1. If you have any question, you can ask now. Any question?
No, sir.
Okay, let's move to another topic, that is angle of twist in elastic range. How you will find the angle of twist in elastic range? For that we have a formula, that is phi is equal to TL divided by JG. So I will show you how this formula comes out. Clear? Where T is the torque, L is the length of the shaft, J is the polar moment of inertia, and G is modulus of rigidity. Clear? So from our previous lecture or in previous, we discussed that gamma max means the maximum shear strain is equal to C over L into phi. Clear? So we have this formula, and also you know that tau is equal to G into gamma. So tau max will be equal to G into gamma max. And again from this formula, we can say that gamma max is equal to tau max over G. Clear? So now gamma max is equal to tau max over G, and gamma max is equal to C pi over L. So if this is equation 1 and this is equation 2, so both equations are same. So if you equate equation 1 with equation 2, so we will have C pi over L is equal to tau max over G. So we are interested in finding the angle of twist, which is phi. So phi will be equal to tau max. Phi will be equal to tau max into L over tau max into L, G into C. So this is the angle of twist for maximum. No, there is a mistake. Again, this gamma is equal to tau max over G. Okay, we will see what is the difference. Okay, ये correct था, ठीक है. So this phi will be equal to tau max into L over G into C. Now this tau max is actually T C over J. Remember? So if you remove this tau max and you put this, that will become equal to T into C divided by J, and similarly L over G into C. So C will cut. So we will have angle of twist that is equal to T into L over G J. So this is the formula for finding the angle of twist. So if you have T torque in the shaft, you know the length of the shaft, you know the material or modulus of rigidity, and if you have diameter, you can also calculate the polar moment of inertia. So you can easily find the angle of twist. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, if you have shaft having step rods having different diameter, clear, or different material, you can have the shafts. For example, if this is smaller diameter, this is larger, and again this is smaller. So again, if you have different materials or different diameter of shaft, so then angle of twist will be different in each shaft. So for that purpose, you will have to calculate the angle of twist in every shaft. You have to find the angle of twist in AC, you have to find the angle of twist in EC, you have to find the angle of twist in BE. And for total angle of twist, that will be equal to sum of twist in AC, sum of twist in EC, and sum of angle of twist in BE. So for that, what we do, we can write this angle of twist formula in generalized form. That angle of twist is equal to sum of Ti Li over Ji into Gi, where I start from 1 and it depends upon the number of sections. So if this is for let's say this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So that will be equal to, total pi will be equal to T1 L1 over J1 G1 plus T2 L2 over J2 G2 plus T3 L3 over J3 into G3. So in this way you will be able to find the total angle of twist in this shaft. So there are problem also available at the end of exercise. Kindly try that problems. If you have any difficulty, then you can ask. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Another topic is that statically indeterminate shaft. So in previous lectures we discussed that what is indeterminate static, what is mean by statically indeterminate. So if you have more than one unknowns and you have one equation, or if you have two equations and three unknowns, so this type of problems you cannot solve by available two equations. So they are known as statically indeterminate problems. Clear? So we will now discuss statically indeterminate shaft. So you can see this example that this is a hollow shaft, or this is this is a shaft that is fixed at both ends, and there is torque applied at the mid, which is 90 pound into foot. So if you remove the reaction forces, so definitely at point A there will be reaction torque, and at point B there will be a reaction torque. So you now in this scenario you can see that there is one torque known and two are unknown. So if you want to take the movement about this axis, for example, let this axis is x. So movement about x will be equal to 0. So TAB plus TA plus TB will be equal to 90 pound. Sahi?
Sorry, sir.
Okay. Okay. Then how you will find or how you will solve this, because you have one equation and there are two unknowns. Clear? So it is impossible to find two unknown by using this one equation. So what will you do? You will then take the section at this point. So when you section it, then T1 TA will become equal to T1, and at point B T2 will be equal to TB, and sum of total twist will be equal to theta pi 1 plus pi 2. Pi 1 is with TA L1 over J1 G minus TB into L2 J2 G2. Why there is minus sign? Because if you see it, it is twisting like that, and it is again it is opposite to that. So uh, phi will be equal to, actually total twisting will be the sum of two, but one is in one direction, another is in second direction. So that why this is minus. So when their sum should be equal to 0, total deflection should be 0 because it should cancel, or it should be total angle of twist should be 0 because it is cancelling the effect. So when this equation become equal to 0, so you can move this whole term to this side. So it will become equal to TA L1 over J1 G is equal to TB L2 over J2 G. So from that you can calculate, you can write it in term of equation A. Clear? Or in term of equation B, that depends on you. Here it is converted into TB. So TB is equal to, इसको इधर छोड़ दें TB को. So TB is equal to TA L1 over J1 G, since the material is same, multiply by J2 into G over L2. Clear? So you can see this is the same TA L1 J2. This is for L1 J2 over L2 over J1. So GG will be cancelled. So now this is TB. So you have to put this value of TB over here, that this TB in term of TA. So you will find TA, if you put this, so you will get the value of TA because all the values are in TA. So when you find TA, again you will put the TA value over here and you will subtract TA from 90. So you will get TB. Clear? This is how you can solve statically indeterminate shaft. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for your time.